Hello VC, good morning. I'm here today to talk about Strauss, also sprach Zarathustra, William Steinberg, Boston Symphony Orchestra. Comes from this original source box set, which also has Holst the Planets and Hindemith concert music for strings and brass. I ordered this from Germany. I don't know when they're going to be released in America. I ordered this from Grooves Land. Took about a week to get here. Super excited to get it after hearing those Boston recordings from Seiji Ozawa. This is dead silent vinyl, no clicks, pop, static, nothing. Great pressing. The sleeve is the same kind of typical, it's a little cheap, you know, it doesn't really close. I made a lot of records in my day, and you know, when you put your album in this kind of paper sleeve, sort of like a light cardboard, you know, these cost about $1 to make. If you get into something like this, it's thick cardboard. These cost maybe $3 each or something. I don't know why they wouldn't spend the extra couple dollars. So inside the box, there's no booklet, there's no additional information or writing or anything. You get this, you know, it has a photo inside, and then some of this stuff here, some of the notes from the session, but it doesn't really tell me much of anything. It just tells me a few times on here when it was recorded, what the piece is, how long it is. Doesn't give like microphone placement or EQs added to tracks or any of that kind of stuff. No technical data. It comes with this that has the little story here of the remastering. Then it has a picture of the tape box. And I never noticed this before, I just looked at it now. So you know, when you look here on this box, it says the original source. It says pure analog mix and cut from the original half-inch 4-track tapes. And then here, if you look at this fine print down here at the bottom, it says based on second generation stereo down mix. So I don't know which one it is. I don't know if they're referring to the photograph, but if they had the original box, why wouldn't they just shoot the original box? Why would they shoot this one? Or if all of the tapes come from a second generation stereo down mix. So as you know, this piece, also sprach Zarathustra, is a collection of 2 tone poems that are based on the writings of Friedrich Nietzsche, and each tone poem is broken up into much smaller segments which reflect certain points he was making in the writings. I'll skip all the, you know, 6th grade world history lesson review of Strauss and Nietzsche and when this was composed and all of that stuff, and we'll just get right into how it sounds. So this album right here sounds atrocious. This is one of the worst sounding albums I now probably own. I would like to say that I think the performance is nice, although it's just not swimming, it's drowning in so much reverb that it's really hard to even judge the performance because the transients are gone, everything is sort of congealed into big blobs of tone. There's really no definition in anything. It suffers a little bit from the kind of classic hollow sounding, a little glassy strings. There's a lot of high strings in this piece. And these don't even really sound like violins. It's just like this high, piercing, glassy tone, which led me to wonder if it's just too much of the hall, or what does the hall sound like. So I pulled out some of these records. This is Munch, Boston, Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto. There's also some solo violin work in Zarathustra, which in this version just completely gets lost in the soup of echo. This, of course, has a beautiful violin tone. It's so bright and snappy. This is an amazing sounding recording. Doesn't sound anything like that. This is Tchaikovsky's Fifth by Monteux, recorded there. Also sounds incredible. And this one, I'm sure everyone knows, this is the Analog Productions reissue of the Saint-Saëns Symphony No. 3, which has massive, amazing organ in it. Just like the Zarathustra has organ. Again, you know, it's a little mushy, that organ in that recording. It sounds nothing like this organ on this record. So, which led me to believe that it can't be the hall, it has to be a Deutsche Grammophon thing. And then I started looking up the hall a little bit and came across, not even on an audiophile page or a classical music page necessarily, it was on a, you know, like a pro audio site, and people talking about Deutsche Grammophon recordings, and there were some comments from some people who had had tours back in the 70s when they were recording there. I'll copy and paste those here. You can pause it and read it if you want. So I guess part of their thinking, other than having the rear mics for the quad recording and just picking up more reverb, was then the tracks were sent downstairs where they had big plate reverb boxes. And, you know, then it really just made sense to me, you know, okay, it ran through a plate. And plate reverb is amazing on vocals. It's an amazing sound. Running a whole orchestra through it, not so great. You know, even on modern recordings, usually digital reverb is used now, or has been for the past however many decades. You know, because you can set a pre-delay on that so that it's like the transients will come through before it engages the reverb. Whereas with the plate, you have a giant metal plate and you have a speaker that comes in and it vibrates the plate, and you have a microphone inside the box. And it's just, you know, it's recording those vibrations, and you can make the plate firmer or looser so that it vibrates more or less. But at the same time, you know, reverb is changing the waveform. If you run a sine wave through a plate reverb, it's not going to come out a sine wave on the other side. It's folding the wave, it's distorting it. And a little bit of reverb is nice, it's beautiful. It can add lushness and space and everything. Too much, it just becomes a soup. So anyhow, that's my 2 cents on that. As far as the recording goes, you know, there's really great bass lines in this piece. None of them are defined. They're all mushy. The bass is super mushy. This particular remaster is also, like a lot of the other ones, it's cut hot, it's cut loud. It's like a good, I don't know, 4-6 dB louder than any other version of this record that I have. And I don't think that's helping it either, to have all of that reverb going on and then also have a high volume. And because of that, you know, there's no the recording itself, it sounds very hollow, very airy sounding, and because there's nothing to ground it. There's no weight in it anymore. It's all floating. You know, but there are 3 records in this box, and you know, I'm starting with this one, and by far this one is the worst sounding. They're not all terrible, so we have that to look forward to. I was really most excited about the Hindemith pieces. I love his work, and they also just aren't released and beat to death. You know, it's a little more obscure repertoire, which I wish that if Deutsche Grammophon is going to continue to go back and release these things, I would hope that they release more obscure repertoire like that instead of just, you know, Zarathustra and the planets, you know. But anyhow, enough of that. So the next record I put on after I listened to that one was this Zubin Mehta LA Phil. I believe this comes from '68. It's recorded at Royce Hall. And just immediately the contrast of how amazing this sounds, how visceral, earthly, grounded, organic sounding. I can hear the wood of the basses and the cellos and the bow on the strings. I can hear atmosphere. The sections are well defined. The woodwinds are carved out. You can hear space around them. In comparison to the Deutsche Grammophon, which is just blobs of music. And I think, you know, if you didn't put this on right afterwards, you might even be able to tell yourself like, oh, it was a decent sounding recording, you know? But the contrast is just so extreme that you can't help but to notice that this is a good sounding record and that is not. I mean, just in the opening 30 seconds of it, the timpanis sound like they're way in the back of a hall or a bathroom or something. This is pounding percussion right in the center, right up front, hits you in the chest. Incredible. And you know, this is also just, look, it's a London narrowband. You can get this all day for $5 in any record store, you know, and this costs $150, you know, or $50 a record, however you want to lay that out. But you know, what I'm saying is, if you want to hear this piece and you want to hear it well, this is fantastic. So next up, this is also Analog Productions' reissue of this. This is just audiophile, classic, Reiner, Chicago. This sounds so natural. Like, this sounds like a tape running off of a Neve board into a lathe. Nothing done to it, just there's the music. I think you can still get this from Analog Productions. Probably cost you $40 something. Incredible record. Then also I have this Reiner Chicago Zarathustra MoFi. So that, the first one I showed, the Living Stereo, that was recorded in 1954, and they held on to it till '60, till stereo became more doable. And this one is from 1962. Performance-wise, this one's a little more laid back. This one's a little more fierce. The sound on this is great. I think MoFi's classical recordings are a little hit or miss. This is awesome. It has a different presentation also. The timpanis are way over on the left. On the second side, the really beautiful parts of it are so lyrical and beautiful and nice. It's classic Reiner Chicago, great version. This you can actually get cheap too. This is not an expensive MoFi at all. Next I have Karia in Vienna. This was recorded in 1959, recorded by John Coleshaw and recorded at the Sophensaal. Every recording from there sounds great to me. It's in Vienna, old hall. This is an original blueback. It's cool too. There are very few blueback gatefolds, but it also has a blue inside. And then of course the record right here, wideband. This one you will instantly recognize. This is the version from 2001 by Stanley Kubrick. All in all, just a great recording, a great interpretation, nice sound. It's not super amazing, it's not bad, it's just a good, solid version of this recording. And also can be found cheap. This is, I think I paid $8 for this or something. And now, in my opinion, the best version I have, both interpretation-wise and sound-wise. It's the King Super Analog reissue, Schulte, Chicago, early 70s. Amazing record. Like the Meta LA Phil, this is just bigger. You're closer up to it. The bass is massive. The organ in this is wall shaking, and the bass drum, beautifully, beautifully recorded. Extreme micro detail on everything. If you really want an outstanding version of this piece, I would highly recommend this one. I'm sure the original Decca is great too. I've never heard it. I can't A-B compare it. But this, and actually I have 2 copies of this for some reason. I think I had one and then I bought another one in like a lot of Michael Hobson's records. And if you want, I'll sell you this one, you know, $40 or whatever. Email me, I'll send it to you. So there's a really quick review of those records and my copies of Zarathustra. And I'll be back in a few days and we'll do the other